My name is Miss Estrada and I'll be teaching 6th grade math today. We're going to go over probability. The standard we will be addressing is NY 6.SP.8. My focus learners are Chris in 6th grade, and he's age 11 with a specific learning disability, dyscalculia. My name is Chris and I love to play soccer, hang out with my friends, and help my mom with cooking. I love to listen to my teacher read stories to us and play games. My favorite subject is math because My least favorite subject is math because I have a hard time with word problems and also the numbers when they are spelled out. Some things that help me with math are having both the number form and word for a number. Talking out loud to solve a problem and math manipulatives also help me. Our second student is Alex, who is age 11, who has other health impairment, ADD. I am Alex. I am super talkative in class and sometimes I can go off task. It helps to have a checklist on the inside of my notebook. I also really like when the teacher gives us a checklist when changing activities because I have a really hard time focusing when we jump from activity to activity. My teacher often tells me when I'm doing the right thing and will be specific. This helps me remember what action I took that was so positive. I like making my teacher happy. Sometimes I get a strong urge to wiggle or stomp my feet, so my teacher found a really cool rubber band that goes on my chair. I can kick my heels as hard and as fast as I want, and no one can hear it. I love science class because we get to do all these cool experiments and show everyone what we did. But sometimes there are so many steps, and that's okay because following the scientific method is like a science checklist to me. I will be focusing on Domain 1B, demonstrating knowledge of students, and Domain 1E, designing coherent instruction. HLP 8, provide positive and constructive feedback to guide students' learning behavior, and HLP 13, adapt curriculum tasks and materials for specific learning goals, will be implemented today. In the students' activity, after reviewing probability, they will break off into their designated groups to follow a worksheet and act out an experiment themselves. There's a green group. All the groups are in colors. Green group specifically is for Alex and Chris and another student. In this group, there's a second teacher in the room who stays a little closer to them to hear them talk, discuss, and intervene when she realizes they're struggling. And when it's something that's specific to the lesson, she will call me over. They also know that this teacher, Miss S, is where they're going to get their extra worksheet from. So the rest of the students are going to get a worksheet to kind of guide them, but they're going to record the answers into their own notebooks. Except for Chris and Alex, they're going to grab a modified version of this worksheet from Miss S, and they're going to write directly on the worksheet. They have a differentiated worksheet because the rest of the class will have one, and if you notice, it has the words written out, 6-sided die, and then they have the number 6, and it switches back and forth. They're going to record their answers to this, and then on another half of their notebook paper, they're going to record what happens when they rolled a die or they rolled 2 die. Green group has a modified worksheet where I highlighted anytime they reference the die because it can get confusing when it's a 6-sided die and 1 or 2 parts they ask to find the number 6. So to help them differentiate, I highlighted anything that was relevant to the die. And I have every number written as a word so Chris can get more familiar with switching back and forth. It is also in bigger font, and they're going to write directly on here. Also, sometimes it can be hard to recall numbers and picture them, so when it asks for something less than 4, I remind them what the numbers are less than 4. And it's up to them to use this information to figure out the probability. So that is their differentiated worksheet. Also, green group has a die that is significantly bigger than the other group's die, and it'll have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 labeled on each side, along with the regular dots that come on dice and the word form. So it'll have 3 versions of each number on all over the die. What are the chances? So today our learning intention is to review how we approximate the probability of a certain event. So today's activity, the event is dice rolling. So there are some things we want to think to ourselves out loud, in our head, when we're looking at a probability problem. What are some things we're looking for in our word problems to know that a problem has to do with probability? We will see things like, what are the chances? What are the odds? How many different ways? And these are just some sentence starters that you will hear and think to yourself, I think I have to use probability here. Here's an example. What are the chances you will land on a 2 when rolling one die? What are the chances of rolling a 3 on one die? So let's start with this first one. We're just going to get our feet wet before we break off into our groups. What are the chances you will land on a 2 when rolling one die? So how many sides? We want to think some things to ourselves. Things to consider. How many sides? How many numbers are of that number they're looking for? And what if we add a second die? So right here, we're saying, what are the chances you will land on a 2 when rolling one die? So how many sides does one die have? Good job with your quiet hand. So you can answer for me. How many sides? 6 sides. Excellent, excellent recall. Okay, so there are 6 sides. Then can I ask you, how many 2s are on one die? Very good, thank you. There's only one number 2 on a 6-sided die. So what is our problem going to look like? We have 6 sides, so we're going to put 6 on the bottom. What are we going to put on top? We're not going to put the number 2 on top because, why? Because we're not looking for 2 numbers. How many numbers are we looking for? 1 number. We're looking for 1 number. It just happens to be the number 2, but the number on top is going to be the amount. So there's only one side that has a 2. So it looks like 1 over 6. You have a 1 out of 6 chance of rolling a 2. Great. You asked, can we review about if we add a second die? I really appreciate you asking that. We could do that real quick. Okay, so if our number on the bottom, let's do it on the back. If our number on the bottom represents how many sides we have, in a regular die equation, the number will be 6 on the bottom. If we have 2, now we have twice the amount of dice. Look here, 6 times 2. So we have 6 sides on one dice. So now if we have 2 dice, if we have a pair of dice, right, you're going to have 12 sides. So if they're still asking how many times will you land on a 2, well, one die has 6 sides. 6 sides. 1 of each number. Okay, so now we're doubling everything. If we're doubling the amount of sides, we have 12 sides, we're doubling the amount of numbers. So now instead of 1 of each number, we're rolling 2 die. Now we have a chance of getting, yes, 2 of each number. So if 1 over 6 was the chance of us getting a 2, now we have twice the amount of die. So we have a pair of dice. So if we did it to the bottom, what are we going to do to the top? Very good. I appreciate you asking that question. Okay. So we're going to have a worksheet. I'm going to hand out a worksheet to everybody, and you're going to answer the probabilities and display them in your notebooks, and you're going to split your paper into 2, right? And on the other half of the notebook, you're going to actually roll your die that are provided at your groups. You'll see them when you get there. And you're going to record what you ended up getting. And we'll see what happens. And then we'll share all our results. So before I break everyone off into groups, remember, group practices. This is what we do. 1, you're going to go to your group area. 2, remember to take your notebook and a pencil. My green group will grab a worksheet from Miss S. 3, your your dice will be waiting for you at your group area. So only use the dice that's already at your group area. 4, you're going to answer the questions and then perform your own dice rolls. Number 5, you're going to record your own answers. And 6, we will share out loud afterwards.